Hey, it's Dew, and I've been book hauling. That's what I do. I guess almost every week of my life. I went to the half off sale at a local thrift store of books, and their books were marked like $1.50 and two for paperbacks, 2.50, and then 50% off that. Usually it's quite a bit of a rummage, but I was able to find several books that I was super excited about there. I did some unhauling. I did a round through my bookshelves and picked some books that I wanted to unhaul unread. I just decided that probably every week or every time I go unhauling that I'm going to do that too, that I'm going to get a little bit. I am getting kind of full in this space. There are still nooks and crannies, but I just want to be discerning because it's well over a year of reading ahead of me. And I love hauling. So if that means that I get them home and then I think more about, do I really want them or not? That's part of this. That's great. So all that to say, I did some unhauls and then took a couple of books from Little Free Libraries and then the Friends of the Library. So this book, I'm going to start with a couple books of authors that I know and love and was excited to find a book by. So Jesmyn Ward, I have only read Sing Unburied Sing. I have unhauled it. I got that Sing Unburied Sing at Goodwill. I have most of Jesmyn Ward's other works, and then I found this at the 50% off sale. So this was like $1.25. This is a memoir. I have tried to read some memoirs recently, didn't like them, but I really thought it was worth it to have this Jesmyn Ward book. So I'm excited for that. Men We Reaped. Next, I have read only one, Ali Smith, and I liked it so much that I've taken the chance to have, I believe she's right here. Yeah, you can see she's right here. So I have 3 other Ali Smiths, and this is going to make it the 4th. So I need to make sure that I get to another Ali Smith soon. But I liked the first one enough that even if one's kind of a miss for me, I'm willing to keep giving chances. But this is the companion piece. And I got this as one of my free books at the Friends of the Library. Just kind of, I'm going to say this one next because there's very similar vibes on these covers. Damnation Spring by Ash Davidson is a book of the month, and I had just recently been thinking, well, I just don't really haul book of the month anymore. It comes with a free bookmark, and it is one of those kind of traveling books that you can register. So I'm going to be real about this one, hopefully reading it maybe in March so that I can get it back out, and then I will probably take a trip in Oregon, and I like to try to bring the traveling books with me on a trip and get them further away than where they started. We'll see. I was relatively interested. This is an environmentally focused book. So, and it looks like it has multiple points of views of different names, and sometimes I don't like that if I can't get the characters differently, but we're just going to give it a try and see how it goes. And like I said, hopefully get to it by next month. Okay, that came from a Little Free Library, by the way. Similarly, from a Little Free Library, Boy from the North Country, kind of same cool vibe on the cool colored vibe, by Sam Sussman. This is about a relationship between, it is semi-autobiographical, which made me feel a little kind of way, but this is written, by a male author, and it's about the relationship between a son and his mother, and yeah, I like that as a concept, so I thought I'd grab this book and add it to my stacks. Please Look After Mom by Kyung-Suk Shin. This is the same author of a book I just hauled, which is I Went to See My Father. And a friend of mine told me about the controversy around this book, which I talked about in the last haul video. And, but he also told me, this friend, that he liked this book. and then was only privy to the controversy after having read it and kind of looking up about it. So I'm glad to have them both by this author. And I think that I will actually start with I Went to See My Father, but I don't know. Any other authors I already have? Well, you know, for the very cheap vintage paperback. I actually got this from the Friends of the Library. I paid $1 for it, which really you could find these for even 30 cents. But this is the Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner, and I believe I have As They Lay Dying. And I have never read any Faulkner, so maybe having this little cheeky paperback that I can take traveling will encourage me to read my Faulkner. I keep saying that I haven't been reading classics, but actually this month, Bing Bang Boom, I'm getting to three classics coming in an upcoming review video, or maybe the review video will be published before this haul video. I wanted to do the haul video so that I can get my books sorted and shelved. Anyway, okay, I had some great finds at the I had some great finds at the 50% off sale, and I do find them to be great finds, and I really liked the amount of sort of diversity in all of the ways that books can be diverse and their authors can be diverse that I was able to haul this week, but very particularly from the several books that I got at that 50% off sale. So this is The Mountains Sing by Yin Fan Kui Mai. And I had recently watched a reviewer, and I can't even remember who, unfortunately, reviewed this book. This is war's impact on women, talking about the Vietnamese War with the invasion, when the United States invaded Vietnam, I believe. And I know this is going to be a heavy book, and I was really happy to find it. A book that I hadn't heard about but was really happy to find was Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribay. I've recently unhauled some of my young adults, so I was glad to have something that I'm interested in reading, and I try to get to my young adults, not let it sit around that much, or if I don't get to it, I put it back out, most particularly in my street's little free library because I live on the street of a high school. This is a Filipino-American author, and I believe that would be the first of that, the representation of Filipino-American that I have on my shelves, and it also comes with a free bookmark. I'm sticking with the Southeast Asia. Anthony Vesna So was Cambodian-American, I believe from the Bay Area, and I say was because this book was published just posthumously. I think the proofs must have, actually the ARCs must have been out when this author unfortunately passed before his time. But this is After Parties. What a fantastic cover. This is going to be a display book for sure. I got a lot of these pinks and yellows going on in my display up front. So, and this is Stories. In that same haul, I got The Second Coming of Mavala Shinkongo by Peter O'Neill. I don't know much about this book or author, and I wasn't able to... It's from 2006, so even some of the author's blurbs are maybe not something I'm familiar with. I didn't look up much about it, but the premise is that there's a teacher in Nambia, and she's admired and loved and respected, and then she kind of goes missing, and then she comes back, and that's sort of what's going on here. I thought Nambia as a setting was something I've not experienced before, and I'd be curious to know how Peter O'Mare, or what connection he has with that as a setting, or what he's going to do, how he handles the story. So yes, same book haul. I got this book Silence by Shusaku Endo. This has a foreword by Martin Scorsese, and because it has been made into a movie, ask my movie friends if they've seen it or if they would like to watch it after I read it. I know this is classic Japanese translation, so let me tell you who the translator is. It says who the foreword is by, but not who the translator. William Johnston. William Johnston translated this work. It's about Jesuit priests going to Japan, like on a missionary trip or something like this. Yeah. And then finally, during that same book haul, I got this book. It said awards, and they're Canadian awards about which I don't know much, but it did raise my awareness at this cover as well. I actually really like this cover. So this is All the Quiet Places by Brian Thomas Isak, and this is a coming of age novel about a young man who's growing up on the Okanagan Indian Reserve in what is now British Columbia. So I love coming of age. I love Native American or First Nations lit, and seeing those stories and those narratives represented by publishing houses. So there's that. At the Friends of the Library today, I got Tan Twang Ang, The Garden of Evening Mists. I didn't know anything about this book. I have to tell you, I don't know anything about this. No, lies. There's another book that I watched a book review, a newer one by this author, The Open Door, maybe. This is a bit older. 2012. I think there's a more recent one by this author, but to be fair, I don't think that's why I hauled it. I think it literally was, but the book by its cover, a little bit of the synopsis, and I kind of want this to be a display book too, so we'll see. Okay, The Last Days of Ellis Island by Gail Jose. I don't know how you say Jose in French, as this is a French author. So the translator is Natasha Lerrer. Yeah, this is a story about the closing of the last days of Ellis Island. Maybe like a super small publishing house. And I wasn't able to find a digital copy of this book, but I could read it even sitting in this light if I needed to. So it was a story that, historical fiction always isn't my jam, but it was a story I'm interested in, yeah. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Half of a Yellow Sun. I'm reading, hopefully in March, as many of the Women's Prize for Fiction backlists as I can get to. I'll shuffle in maybe some International Booker or books in translation just to kind of cover that too, but that's coming down the pike, and this is one of the winners. So I think when it was the Orange Prize. Then the last two books I have to talk about is this, my under $1 book, I think. Yeah, 75-cent book. Okay, I just recently read, and I loved it. I can't recommend enough Kamala Shamsi's Speaking of the Women's Prize, because it was a winner. Okay, way to forget the name of a book, and it was by Kamala Shamsi. Anyway, this is like, let me not try my tired brain anymore. It was a retelling of Antigone, and I thought, I wish I had Antigone. Now I can always check it out from the library, which I almost always do with the physical, but I really do like to have the physical copy to follow along spatially, or to even hold while I read digitally. So I'm glad I found this Homefire. And if I should happen to run into Homefire again, and I feel like I will, I feel like it could happen while I'm out there thrifting or little free librarying, I'll grab it again. I think it's a book that it's worth a reread, especially now that I have the source material. And then finally, the only thing I've ever read or heard of by Anthony Burgess is Clockwork Orange. And they had this, I believe they just gave me this book because it's wasn't even gonna go at the able to sell pile. And so, yeah, I thought, okay, given how Clockwork Orange is a bit transgressive, I wonder what Tremor of Intent will be about. When is this book published? Like this, it's a bit 1966. It is kind of joyful to have like the 1966 mass market paperback copy, probably not in reprint. So this might be the only opportunity I have to read said book. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't look it up that much, but I said, sure, give it to me. I'll take it along. And that is the last of, I think there's 14 books in this haul, which is kind of typical about what I've been hauling per week, about double what I read. So yeah, I say it a lot. One day I'll mean it. I have to slow down at some point, but I definitely have space for these books. Or there's a couple that I might, think about a little bit more and decide if I really want to keep them or put them in my go out to the Little Free Library on haul. In any case, there's several that I'm really excited about. So there's that. And yeah, until next time.